Alright, well, thanks for watching the second part in my series on cut plugs. Tonight I'm going to talk about the spreaders, the leaders, and the cut plugs themselves. And so let's start with the spreader. I make this spreader. Of course, you don't have to make your own spreaders, but this is a standard 3x5 spreader. I'm using the 6-ball swivel chain for the leader that goes to the flasher, and then the 3-ball swivel chain for the leader that goes to the weight. And I'm using a 10-ounce weight when I'm out there trolling. So from the spreader to the weight, that can be anywhere from 18 to 24 inches. Depends on how close you want to get to the bottom. And I typically use a 20-pound monofilament line, and I put a duo snap on one end. This is a DLS 054. It's rated at like 60 pounds. And then on the other end I use the a swivel, just basically whatever's in the tackle box, something that I won't mind losing. And then the 20-pound mono test is designed to be a little bit lighter, and with the 10-ounce weight, if it does get hung up, you'll lose the weight, but you won't lose your flasher and your cut plug, in theory. So most of the time that happens. So I'll take the weight and I'll connect it to the swivel end of the leader, and then the short end to the spreader with the 3-ball swivel chains. The idea with the swivel chains is you really want to get as much rotation as you possibly can, even with the weight. In my opinion, you'd rather have that spinning than getting tangled up, or having the line twist on you. Then from the longer end of the spreader to the 6-ball swivel chain, I use a really heavy-duty bumper. This is a bumper leader. It's made out of 200-pound test monofilament. I'll show you how to make those here in a minute, and I'll also tell you where you might be able to find some. I've also used in the past just standard 60-pound monofilament. This no, actually it's 50-pound trilene big game. And the whole idea with your bumper leader to your flasher is you really want as heavy line as you can, because you don't want the line itself to get twisted. Lighter line is going to get twisted. Those flashers put out a big 360 rotation. It's going to cause a lot of twist. That's why you want your swivel chains on your bumper leaders and on your spreaders. So I'll do the same thing, basically the same design, with a 50-pound monofilament. If you've got that at home, use that. If you want to make something heavier, then use this 200-pound monofilament. This is something that I've got. I usually cut off a piece about 24 inches. And 24 to 36, I'm sorry. Currently I'm using 36s. So then you'll take the non-swivel chained end of this bumper, hook it to the spreader, and then your swivel chain end is going to go to your flasher. Flasher's got a top side and a bottom side. The bottom side that goes to the lure is the side with the agitator. And you're going to hook that into your bumper. And then from your flasher, you're going to do a cut plug. So these cut plug leaders, I cut these at 48 inches. And I'm using 30-pound test line, 30-pound test monofilament. And I'm putting a bead or a ball swivel chain on this as well. This, again, you want as much rotation and less line twist as you possibly can get. And the longer these swivel chains are, if you are going to get angel's hair or some kind of debris in it and they get caught on a couple, at least you've got 4 more ball swivels that are going to give you some sort of rotation and help prevent that line twist. And then I retie all of the cut plugs. This particular cut plug, I also put another swivel chain at the bottom of it, and then I put the snap ring and the hook, and I redo the hooks as well. I'm using number 2 Gamatsu. Did I say that right? Probably not. Anyways, the number 2 treble hooks. These are number 1s, but I use these are the number 2s. And that is your rig. So between a 4-foot leader on your cut plug, a 3-foot leader before your flasher, and an 11-inch flasher, you've got almost 8 feet of leader out there. And sometimes you're gonna have to lift really high up to get that fish up to the water where you can put a net on it. Or you get yourself some really long rods. I have one rod that's a 10-foot rod, one of the cousin's rods. The rest of my rods are about 8 feet. So that's the spreader, the weight leader, the flasher leader, and the cut plug leader. One thing I might want to show you is the cut plug boards. I just make these out of some of the anti-fatigue foam mats that you can get from Harbor Freight. I think you get a 4-pack. They're about 3 by 3, and I just cut them up and I make my own. So I had a piece around here that wasn't cut yet. Anyhow, you get the idea. Just put a couple cuts in there. You can wrap your leaders around it, and it stores them really nice, and then put them in a little box, and that's how I store my cut plugs. Okay, so these bumper leaders that I make, let me show you real quick how I do that. Really not too hard. I think the hardest part is getting all of the supplies that you need to make them, and you're making them so that they don't break, so you're not going to have a lot of them, and so you end up buying more hardware than you actually need. So I'm going to measure out 36 inches, 3-foot bumper, cut that, and then I've got some mini copper double barrel crimp sleeves. These are 1.6 millimeter. My 200-pound test monofilament is 1.5 millimeter. So you want the crimp sleeve to be just a little bit bigger than your monofilament. And you're going to stick it in one side of the barrel and put a little DLS 054 Brad's dual lock snap on one end. Pull my loop in. I got my crimpers, and I just crimp it down. And then once that's down, got one end done. So after I get one side done, then I put a bead in there, and the bead helps me identify the size of my bumper. So I use red for my 36-inch, green for my 24, and then like glow for maybe my 12, just so it's easy for me to see when they're in a box like that I can grab the right size bumper or the bumper that I want right off the bat without having to dig too deep. So you get the bead in there. Now you're going to want to make another loop at the other end. So you need your crimp sleeve. Put that in one side. And on this side you're going to use your swivel chain. Make a loop. Pull the loop in a little bit. And then crimp this. And once that's crimped down, see, that's not going anywhere. Then I use a 200-pound tested duo snap on the other end, and this is your flasher end. And mainly I like that big loop because again you got that big rotation going on. And there is a bumper leader for your flashers. Okay, so that's your leaders for tonight with your bumpers to your flashers, your spreaders. Main thing again is swivel chains, swivel chains, swivel chains. You don't want your line to get twisted up, and the longer the swivel chain, you know, if you get debris on some of those balls, at least you still have some rotation going on with hopefully some other balls in the swivel chain still free. So 18 to 24 on the dropper weight, anywhere from 12 to 36 inches on the bumper to the flasher, and then 48 inches to the cut plug with swivel chains again. And then I make these hook setups many different ways. This is like they are out of the box. I just replace the hook, or I get the ones that are unrigged, add swivel chains, snap ring, and a treble. But I've also hooked and did some with 3/0 hooks with a stinger and a couple beads. I've done them with just 3/0 hooks, a couple of those with beads. I've even rigged up some mini kokanee plugs with the bigger hooks just to try something different. I guess up in the Northwest they use these and they're catching Chinook on those as well, so you never know. When you got to mix it up, I keep a little bit of everything. And I hope that gives you a better understanding at least of what the leaders look like. On my part 3 of the series, I'll do the setbacks and actually have the rods out in the water tomorrow and give you some footage of that and how to set up your cut plugs in the water. Alright, thanks for watching.